Welcome back to another session on operating systems and Linux. I'm Manibhushan D'Souza and this is session number 5. Today we are going to look at processes. In particular, we are going to look at the concepts of process and what are the things behind the process. We are all familiar that a process is nothing but a program in execution. So we write a program either using C or C++ or Java or any other programming language, and that will be a set of instructions. But when these instructions are put into action, what we get is a process. If you look at your C program or C++ program or any other program, it contains only the static text that you have typed, the code that you have typed, maybe declaration of variables and if and for and while and this kind of instructions and so on and so forth. And all these are stored in the form of a file inside your computer. But if you look at a process will not only contain the code that you have written. Apart from that, it will also contain additional information such as which is the next instruction that need to be executed. So where is your current location in the execution? Which is the next instruction that need to be executed? Now this is usually kept in a particular variable called as a program counter. So there is a register called as a program counter that will tell the microprocessor which is the next instruction that need to be executed. Now, if you look at your computer or if you look at your system, a system will consist of a number of processes. Some of them may be part of the operating system, like you have a spooler which is running, or you may have a scheduler which is part of the operating system which is running, or you may have a shell that allows you to interact with the allows the user to interact with the operating system. It may be running. All of them are the operating system processes. But as a user, you might have started Microsoft Word, or you might have started Excel, or you might have writing a C or C++ program. For that, you might have started some editor. All of them are user processes. So there will be many number of processes. Some of them are user processes. Some of them are the operating system processes. All of them will run concurrently inside your CPU. So whenever a CPU is free, some other process will be executing inside this. Now this way, by maintaining more than one program or by maintaining more than one process, the efficiency of the operating system or efficiency in particular efficiency of the computer can be increased. Now if you look at a process, now a process, as I have already told you, is a dynamic entity and it's going to contain a lot of things. Now you might have written a function within your program, and this function may take some parameters. So which are the parameters that are passed to this function? And the function may return some value back to the calling module. So which values are being written? So where is the starting point of the function? That is the starting address of the function. Once the function completes it, which is the next instruction address that need to be used? All these informations has to be stored so that your process can work. Now all these informations are generally stored in stack. So the stack contains all the temporary data like your local variables, the values that are passed to the parameters, the return address, and so on and so forth. Now we know very well a program may contain more than one function. So there may be more than one function inside the program. In that case, there will be some variables which are declared outside, and these variables are generally called as global variables. And these global variables are stored in the data section so that they can be used by more than one functions. Now this information, whole information, is stored in the stack. Now before we look into the process in details, let's look at the difference between a program and a process. A program, we know very well, is a passive entity. It is just a set of instructions, that's all. These set of instructions, which may be typed in the form of a text, are stored in a file, that's all, which is stored in the disk. There is nothing else that it can do. Whereas when we talk about a process, it is an active entity. What do I mean by saying active entity is it is performing something. So there are some variables or there are some values which are associated with it. For example, it might have a program counter that's going to tell the microprocessor which is the next instruction that needs to be executed. Now you might have started two instances of Microsoft Word. So you might have opened two different files in two different Microsoft Word session. Now if you look at the code of the Microsoft Word, that program, it is the same program. So you are having one program called as Microsoft Word. Using this one program, you have started two instances of Microsoft Word. In one of them you may have one document, okay, in the other you might have other document. Now if you look at the program part of it, it is the same program. So it is the same Microsoft Word program using which you have started two instances. But if you look at it from the process point of view, they are not the same process. Even though it is started from the same program, this process, if I call it as P1, is not the same as P2. The reason is P1 has started a different program or different file. P2 has started a different file. So it may be your assignments in C++. This may be an assignment in database. So these two files are different. The current state of these two programs are different. This may be suspended. This may be active. What do I mean by saying suspended is it is not active, it is not being used. It may be there minimized into the taskbar and it is still there in the taskbar. Nobody is interacting with it, whereas the other one may be interacting. So when we say it is a process, two processes are different, but they are spanned from the same program. Now let's look at the state of the program. Now we know very well that when you execute a program, the state of this particular program changes. So it starts from the beginning, it goes on doing some computation and finally it ends. Okay, so depending upon what is the activity that is performed by the process, its states is going to change. Okay, now a process may be in one of the following state. Either it may be in the ready state, it may be in the new state, wherein the process is just created. It may be in the ready state, that means the process has got all the resources except the microprocessor, and it is waiting for the microprocessor to be given to it. And the next state is the running state, in which the instructions of this particular process is being carried out. When the process is performing some action, it may so happen that it may go for an input output operation. So when suppose say you might have written a program, it will ask it will enter two numbers. So you might have written a program and say that enter two numbers. So unless two numbers are entered, your program will not continue. That means your program is waiting for an input. So when it is waiting for an input, it is no longer running. So because CPU is not executing any instruction, CPU can execute the instruction only when somebody has typed two numbers, suppose. So in that case we say that the process is waiting for some event to occur, for example two numbers to be typed, and when that is typed its state is going to change. And we know very well every program that starts as a new process and finally it has to be terminated when it's finished executing the code. Now, pictorically, we can look at the state of this process as follows. So we are in the new state. That means the process is just created. Now you can imagine this, the entire state as going to a movie. So if you, all of us have gone to movies to watch movies in maybe multiplex or a theater. So what you do is you at maybe at 6 o'clock or maybe 9 o'clock night or maybe afternoon, you may first enter the cinema theater premises. So when you step into the cinema theater premises, you are new to the theater. So that is what is the meaning of saying new. So new means a process is just created. So it has just come to the RAM. So how you have just stepped into the theater premises, maybe if it is a theater, if it's not, if it's a multiplex, you may not have that. So you have just entered the opening that front door, you stepped into it. So you don't have all the resources that you have. What you do, once you enter the theater, you take the ticket, and once you get the ticket, you go and sit in one particular, if the ticket has a number, seat number, you go to that seat number and you sit on that particular seat. That means you are ready to watch the movie. The same thing is true. Your process has just started, and it says I want this resource, I want that resource, everything, and the operating system will provide all the resources. Everything is given to it. When it gets everything except one thing, the process is ready. It can be scheduled at any time. So you know very well, once you go into the theater and even once you sit in the sit on a particular chair that is allotted to you, or maybe the seat that is allotted to you, you are ready for watching the movie. But that does not mean that you can watch the movie, because the movie has to be started. Somebody has to start the movie. Same thing is true. Your process has got everything that it needs, but its instructions are not getting executed. Why? Because its instructions can be executed only by the CPU, that is your microprocessor. The only microprocessor knows how to execute the instruction. So it has every resource except the microprocessor or except the CPU. Your process has everything. So you got everything. You brought the popcorn, you brought the cola, everything is there with you, but the movie has not started, because it is not you who can start the movie, because it is somebody else who has to start the movie. In the same way, it is not the process which can execute the instruction, it is the microprocessor or the CPU that can execute the process. Now you know very well, movie will start at a particular time. When that time comes, the reels will be, if it is a reel based movie, the reels will start. In the same way, it is not your one process which is there in the memory. There may be more than one process in the memory. There is something called as a scheduler that will decide and say that okay, this is the right time to execute your processor, and the scheduler will say that you are in the ready, you can now start executing. So you from the ready, it goes to the running state. What is the meaning of saying running state? Your program instructions are being executed now. So your program is in the running state. When the program is running, anything can happen. In olden days, when I was kid, that anything part is the current power failure. So in the our olden days theater, when the power fails, everything will switch off. There was only one inverter lights was there, but the entire movie can't run. Now today the technology might be very different. If you go to multiplex, you might not feel any change, but in the olden days, if the power fails, then you are interrupted, and you will have to sit again until the movie will start. That means when you are interrupted, you come to the ready state. No movie is running. You will have to wait until the generator is started, and the movie will start again. In the same way, your code is running and something happens. Now what is this something happens? Remember, who sent your process to the CPU is the scheduler. Now it is like you are driving on a road, and suddenly ambulance comes. What you will do, you will have to stop and allow the ambulance to go. So that means it has a higher priority. In the same way, your code is running and something else comes in between which is very urgent, maybe operating system routines or something. So the scheduler will say, it will interrupt your program and say that, okay, you whatever you're doing, just stop it, give the CPU to me, I will schedule, I will give you the CPU later, so just wait for some time and I will allow you to run. So what will happen is your program which was running, it is interrupted and it goes to the ready state. Every resource is there, but the CPU is not there. It will come back to the interrupt state. Now when it is running, other thing can happen. One is interrupted. Other thing can happen is, you know very well, you may go out of the theater, maybe to toilet or any other place, okay, until then you are in the waiting state. Okay, so in the same way, your program is running, and if it says to the CPU that I want some input, I can't proceed. So this is a program for sorting 5 numbers, and I want those 5 numbers. If you don't give me 5 numbers, I can't sort the numbers, because I must know what are the 5 numbers. So if your processor says that thing to the CPU, that I want some input output, or I want some other event to happen, so what the CPU will do is, it will not say, okay, let's wait until that. It will say that, okay, you go step aside, I have many other programs which are ready and I will execute them. You be there in the waiting state. Once your waiting time is over, that means once your input output is completed, then you come back to the ready state. I will give you the CPU again. So this is how it goes. So whenever your processor says I want some input output or some event where your program has to wait, or your process has to wait, it will go to the waiting state. Once that event is completed, once you get the input or some event is completed, it will come back again to the ready state. From the ready state, it may go for running state, and finally, you know very well, after some time your program will end. When your program ends, it will go to the terminated state. So this is how the transition occurs from one state to the other state in the process. Now when you go from one state to the other state, a lot of information has to be stored about the process. Now remember, if your process is interrupted, after interrupt, it has to start from the same point. You know very well, if the power fails, I don't know whether today, I don't go to theater, that's why I really don't know what happens. Is when I was young like you, when the power fails, the movie will start from that point only. It will not again start from the beginning with the title and title text and other things. It will start from the point where it has stopped. That means they must know where the movie stopped, then only they can continue. In the same way, your program was running and it was interrupted. Now if it is again getting scheduled, that means it has to start from the place where it got interrupted. It is not starting from the beginning all over again. Such a thing cannot happen. So all the information has to be stored. So if it's, suppose if it's waiting, waiting period is over, it must begin from the point where it was waiting and it should continue. So in other words, what I want to say is, whenever process is going from one state to the other, lot of information, lot of data regarding that process has to be stored. Where do we store those information? We store that information in a special location and or a special part, and that is called as a process control block. So each process is represented by a PCB or process control block. So for an operating system, whenever you say that start a process, it will create a PCB or process control block in which it will store the details about the process. And if you ask the operating system, okay, how many processes it has, it will check all the PCBs and say, okay, I have so many processes, and this process is at this state, this process is in the other state, and so on. How does the operating system knows? It maintains a process control block for every process. So using this, operating system will control the process. So this is how, this is not the exact structure. The exact structure will be too complicated, but this is how it looks like. So let's look at each and every individual thing. Okay, so what is the purpose of the process control block? It acts as the repository of information for a given process, and the information that is stored in the process varies from one process to other, because the process is going from one state to the other state. When it goes from one state to the other state, its information, the data that has to be stored regarding that process, will change. Now, in general, any process control block will contain following fields like process state, program counter, CPU register, CPU scheduling information, memory management information, accounting information, and input output status information. Let's look at each and every one of them. So we will begin with the process state. The process state will tell the operating system which is the current state of the process, whether it is in the new state, whether it is in the ready state, whether it is the running state, whether it's a waiting state, and so on and so forth. So all these states are called as the one that is written here halted means it is terminated, so it is the other word that is being used. So this is the state. So operating system knows what is the state of the current process. Next very important thing is the program counter. Remember, again I have told you, I don't know whether you have I think it is not there for you during this semester, about the assembly level programming. At least when you learn about the assembly level programming, you will learn about some registers. One of the register is the program counter. So when you have a set of instructions, when you have a lot of instructions, now these CPU is executing this instruction, it must know which is the next instruction that need to be executed. So which is that next instruction? That information is stored in a special register called as a program counter, which is also called as PC. That is going to tell the CPU which is the next instruction that need to be executed. Next one is the CPU registers. Again, I will not emphasize more on these registers, because I am not very sure whether you have studied about the internals of the CPU, but you know very well the CPU also has some memory inside it. So small memory, these are called as registers. So when a program runs, the values of these registers will change. What are the values of these registers will decide the state of the application. Like accumulator is it's like a temporary storage wherein you store the result. In general, we have indexes, the stack pointers, and so on and so forth. These are general purpose registers which are used by almost all program, and their information, their values has to be stored so that the program can be restored from the point where it has stopped. Okay. Next one is the CPU scheduling information. Now CPU scheduling, I have already told you that when your program is in a ready state, there is something called as a scheduler that decides whether your process has to start or whether somebody else's process has to start. Now whether your process will start or somebody else's process will start depends on the priority of the process. So there is a priority that is given. So you know very well, you are driving on the road and ambulance comes. Ambulance has the higher priority. Okay, so in the same way, your program is running, operating system processes are running, they have the higher priority, they have like a privilege. So they are given the first preference, and then your process will come. Depends, so not always, but generally. Okay, so that information. Also in the queue, now generally the processes are kept in the queue. You know very well queue. One good thing about the queue is you have you know, when you go to theater, you are standing in queue. That means who came first will be the first one to go, and the next one will go. So this is how the order is maintained. Same thing, the scheduler will also maintain some sort of order, and that information is generally stored in a queue, and it has a pointer to the queue stating that where is the current position of the process within the queue. Next one is the memory management. So what is the meaning of saying memory management is, now we know very well, we have the RAM here. So in the RAM lot of programs will be there, our code will be there at some location. So at some location our code will be stored or our data will be stored, depends. So where is the starting point and how much is the length, total length in which your data is stored. That is the base register and the limit register. Those two register, they are separate register. That is going to tell which is the starting location in the address from where your data or your code is starting, and where is the last up to how much your data is being stored, from which position to which position the data is stored. That information will be stored there. Apart from that, if you are using virtual memory, you may have page tables and so on and so forth. We will talk about the virtual memories and segmentation slightly later in the other classes. Then you will come to know why those informations are required. As of now, just take it that they are part of the memory management information. Other information that is being stored with the process control block is the accounting information. So the CPU must, the operating system must know which process has run, how long it was being running, how much time it took, or how much CPU time it has taken, how long it was there on the memory, and its number, that is its job number, and so on and so forth. All these are accounting information. They are generally used for recording for future references. And then we have the input output information, like if how many devices are being allocated, whether the printer is given, whether the hard disk is given, whether the keyboard is given to the process, how many files it is using, whether it has opened any file, whether it has closed any file, whether it is reading from one file or many files. That information is also stored in the process control block. So these are all the informations which are stored in the PCB that helps the operating system to maintain the state of the process. Now a process, you know very well, we have already seen, is nothing but a program in execution. Now we know very well that when you type something in Microsoft Word, and if you make a spelling mistake, immediately a red underline will come or a squiggly line will come. How does it is happening? So it is the same one program that you are running, but inside that one program, even though you have a Microsoft Word one program, this program is subdivided into two smaller unit. So there is a two unit. One is your editing part where you are typing. The other one is the spell check that is running parallelly with it. Both of them are part of the Microsoft Word process. So you have the process Microsoft Word, but inside that there are two small pieces, and these independent pieces which are running parallelly or which can be scheduled separately are called as a thread. Thread is also called as lightweight process. More about the threads we will see in detail later, but as of now you just take it that it is one independent unit of your single program. If your program contains more than one independent the executable sub process which works on a separate data and which does not, which can be run in parallel, and then we say that you have a multi-threaded process. We will look at them slightly later. That's all for today's class. Again, if you are really interested in knowing more about it, please refer the Galvin's operating system concept book. Thank you for your interest.